There can be a fair amount of confusion between overridden and overloaded methods, so I've just set up a couple of projects here to try and separate out the differences for you. We'll have a look at overridden methods first, and I've basically got a main class here which basically is going to allow us to take the superclass, which has just got one method in it, and explore that, and then the subclass extends that superclass and it has no method in it at the moment. So this subclass will only have one method in it, i.e. the method that it inherits from superclass. So if I just show you that so you can see what's going on here, if I make just a second, if I make a copy of each of those, something like this. So we make a superclass object and a subclass object, and then if I just have a look at what goes on there, if I do AAA dot, I'll see that we can see the superclass method here, and if I do BBB dot, you can also see the same method because BBB inherits from AAA. If you look over here, subclass, this extends the superclass, and the superclass has this one method, so we can see both those methods there. If I run those now, if I just get a bit smaller, see what's going on, you'll see it'll just run the same method from the superclass. And give it a second to fire up, and there we are. They're both just a superclass method, which is what's said here. Now, if I was to take that method, just copy it and stick that into the subclass, so you can see it's exactly the same method. We're going to overwrite this and now call it, say, subclass method. Now overriding the superclass, something like that. Superclass. There we are. Now, when I run this, I should get something like F5, sorry, F6. And what happens now is we have the superclass method, which is AAA is running, this one here, which is there, and BBB, we have overridden the superclass method with subclass exactly the same name. So overriding methods is a part of inheritance. Let me close that down. Now what I want to do, if I just close these down, just move them out of the way, and close that down, and close that down. What we're going to do now is we're going to have a look at overloading. And basically the same idea. I've got two classes here, not overloaded class and overloaded class, and we're going to make a copy of each of those. I'm just going to explore what we can do with this. If I look at the not overloaded class, it's got one method in it, who am I, and it takes one parameter, an integer called age. So if I go ccc dot who am I at the bottom there, and I could give it an age of 6, and if I run that, it should say something like I'm 6 years old. Okay, there we are. If I was to stick in something there and said, oh, I don't know, a string, it should blow up now because it was expecting an integer. If I press F6, it probably, in fact, it shouldn't even compile. Yeah, there we are. It won't even compile, and it'll say there's a problem. There we are. Tells you there's a problem. So that is definitely expecting an integer of 6. However, if I was to look at this object, the overloaded class D, I'll do the same sort of thing here. Let's just run that F6. And that runs. And now if I stick in here, oh, I don't know, Grumpy, so it's exactly the same method signature here. Run that, F6. It runs. It looks like a different object. This is polymorphism. This is many forms. Polymorphism in action. What about if I was to say here, oh, I don't know, 6 and Grumpy? Give it that. Oh yeah, that runs as well. What about if I said Grumpy and 6 and run that? Yeah. What about if I were to say something like, oh, short short, grumpy, and short. Oh, I don't know. Say 6. Grumpy, something like that, maybe. Something like that. Let's try that. And all of those run, and the reason why they run is because of this principle, this object-oriented principle called polymorphism. And how it works is this: if I show you the classes there, sorry, the methods, you'll see the method name is identical. All this bit here is absolutely identical for all of them, but I can change the signature. And as long as the signature is different, I can actually have as many of those methods as I like, all named exactly the same thing, but with different methods, different signatures involved, so I can actually get the one method as far as the outside world is concerned. When I do ddd dot who am I've got all these different ways of interacting with that one object. That is polymorphism, and that is overloading, different from overriding. So those there basically are the two different versions.